Right now I'm going to talk about externalities. First I'm going to talk about what they are, then I'm going to look at the distinction between positive and negative externalities, and I'll give you examples of each. Then I'll look at how we view positive and negative externalities graphically. Let's get into it. So what are externalities? They're just a byproduct of an interaction that affects a party that is not directly involved in that interaction. This creates a market failure, and this is why we're interested in economics. It's important to remember that this effect can be good and create a positive externality, or it can be bad and create a negative externality. Here are some examples of positive and negative externalities. First, a positive externality would be taking care of your lawn and garden very well. If you do this and your lawn and garden look very nice, this not only increases the value of your house, but it increases the value of all of the houses around you by making the whole neighborhood look nice. Another example is education. The more education a person gets, the more likely they are to be successful in their chosen field of work and a productive member of society. This benefits society as a whole, and that is the positive externality. Some examples of negative externalities are not taking care of one's lawn and garden. If your lawn looks really bad, this will hurt the value of not only your home, but also the homes around you. Another example is pollution from burning coal. Companies that burn coal to produce energy, to sell energy. But in the process of burning that coal, they create pollution. This pollution damages the environment and damages people. This is the negative externality associated with burning coal. Another example that's very similar is cigarette smoking. When a person is smoking cigarettes, there's a byproduct of smell and smoke that can damage people's lungs and create a not so healthy environment for other people around them. The secondhand smoking effect. This is the negative effect associated with cigarette smoking. Now we're going to look at how we view positive externalities graphically. Now, a positive externality is where the social marginal benefit curve is greater than the private marginal benefit curve. And I'll show you what I mean by this in a second. So we can think of this demand curve, the red curve on this graph, as the marginal benefit curve, and the black curve being the supply curve or the marginal cost curve. Now in this example, we're not going to touch the marginal cost or supply curve at all. We're only going to affect the red curve, the demand curve, and the marginal benefit curve. So right now in this graph, there's no externality. So we will produce where the marginal benefit and marginal cost curve are equal at this blue point. And our total benefit will be this green area. This is the classic example of a market with no externalities in it. And in this example right now, this is an efficient outcome and there's no deadweight loss. Now, if we introduce a positive externality, we see that we have a new curve. This green curve is our social marginal benefit. This social marginal benefit curve is above the private marginal benefit curve. And it's just the private benefit added to the benefit received by society. So because of this, we now want to produce at this new red point where the social marginal benefit curve meets the marginal cost curve. Now we will also receive new benefit because our benefit is higher. This is this blue rectangle or parallelogram area. But we will also have this deadweight loss triangle in here because we're not producing enough to get us to an efficient outcome. So in this market, we have deadweight loss, so we are not at an efficient outcome. And in a later video, I'll talk about how we get to an efficient outcome in the presence of not only positive externalities, but also negative externalities. But we won't worry about that for now. Now we're going to move on to negative externalities graphically. You see we have the same setup as the very beginning of the positive externalities, where there's no externality involved. And we're going to produce at the same point, this blue point right here. And our total benefit is going to be this green triangle area again. Now, in a negative externality situation, the marginal cost curve is greater than the private marginal cost curve. So the marginal cost curve in this situation, the private marginal cost, is this red line. When we introduce this negative externality, we get a new social marginal cost curve that lies above the red curve, the private marginal cost. Because of this, we're going to want to produce, or we're not an efficient outcome. The efficient outcome is at this red point. That's where we want to produce. But since we're not producing there, we have a loss in benefit. This red triangle area represents that loss in benefit. And we can find this area because we are producing at the blue point. But at that blue point, the social cost is higher than the private benefit. Therefore, we have a loss until the social marginal cost is equal to the private benefit. And that's at the red point. And that's why we want to produce at the red point. So that would be an efficient outcome. And that's all. I'll talk later in another video about how we address these issues of positive and negative externalities and how we get to that efficient outcome. Thanks.